right, so let's get started with the Vanguard newspaper for you this morning. The Vanguard leads with the Niger flood. Oh yes, there's still a very present humanitarian challenge in Niger State. There's still dozens of people missing. The death toll is at least 200 now, over 200, I should say. And the Vanguard is leading with that humanitarian situation, particularly the larger picture now for Nigeria, now when it comes to flooding and the rest. You see, 1,249 communities in 30 states and the FCT at risk. Now, that's according to the federal government. So just in case you were watching the Mokwa situation in Niger State and you're thinking, well, this is in Niger. Well, this is far away. Thank God I'm not affected. Well, guess what? Your community may be amongst the 1,249 communities in 30 states that are at risk of flooding. So this is a time for everyone to be on guard, as I say, on the street. But take a look at the explainers. It says no water was released from Kainji Jeba dams. You see, notes that flood caused by heavy rainfall heightened by global warming as states take up FG's challenge. So there's a list actually of the states. I'll just run through it. High flood risk states: Abia, Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra. Now I'm taking the pain to mention these states: Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, FCT, Gombe. You know what? You check the rest. I have read half. So you can go on either NIMET's handle. These things are reported also on channelstv.com. So you see if your state is a part of it, and you can begin to ask the questions, look around you to ensure that no one is caught napping.
All right, from the Vanguard, let's head to This Nigeria is the next paper we're looking at. And it leads with this assessment. There's been the back and forth between Afenifere and the president's. Afenifere is the Yoruba Sociocultural Group, and they did blast the presidency about the performance. And what the presidency replied, well, he said, my government hasn't failed. Tinubu confronts Afenifere. So this is the presidency now replying. Presidency says factional groups position jaundiced, misleading, partisan, on the side of opposition, list growth in GDP, fuel subsidy removal, cash transfer to the poor, EFCC seizures, including suspension of Beta Edu, among successes. I like the listing.
Say that again.
Okay, you want to hear it from my mouth? It's on the front page. It's EFCC. What is going on? But this is serious, by the way. So the presidency replying to Afenifere and saying, look, I don't know what your scorecard is. I don't know by what assessment you're looking at, from what prism you're looking at us. But from our books, we have done well. And there's in this Afenifere is done this with opposition and all of that. They listed growth in GDP, fuel subsidy, removal, cash transfer to the poor, EFCC seizures, including the suspension of Beta Edu, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, among successes. So that's as far as that listing is concerned. If you want more, an explainer, perhaps you go to the front page of the
This Nigeria.
Page 4.
Okay, but
the inside pages.
It's inside pages.
So this also sounds like an indictment in that sense. So when you mentioned the suspension of Beta Edu, you know, sometimes when you're silent about something, people forget, right, and they move on. But now that you've brought it back, let us speak to you about what the appropriate thing should be, right? So you suspend a minister over allegations of corruption and all of that. It shouldn't end there. If indeed she's guilty or not, there should be a judicial process. There's an investigation, a process through the courts, and then we now make a pronouncement and say this is indeed a win or not. But suspending and going quiet, I think, in fact, what you're doing is tainting the image of the administration and reminding Nigerians that this is a job left undone. You can't just leave Nigerians in limbo. For all you care, this woman may have been innocent, right? But we don't know because there's been no investigation. There's been at least no outcome of that investigation. in the courts, so we don't know.
And again, in addition to that, when we interviewed the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, I did ask him that I'm going to call people in my village to get to know whether this cash transfer, because I have people in my village that are poor, apparently, like every other village. He said, no, don't just call any random person. I'll send you people in your village. Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, the only way I believe this money works, I want to see the names. I have my way. I'm a journalist. I'll find out whether really money goes to these people. And if it is, at least for those set of people I can guarantee, we'll tell the story here. But we haven't seen it yet. So this cash transfer thing is one of the ways that we're not very sure of how effective it is. Maybe it's going on, but how effective, or people are squandering the money as usual, we do not know. But Nigerians don't really believe in this social investment program as far as cash transfer is concerned at the end of the day.
And, you know, listing the suspension of a minister quizzed in, you know, circumstances that are far from, you know, legitimate, or if you like, in line with due process, you know, as far as ministry movement of funds is concerned in ministry, you know, leaves much to be desired. So there's a redefinition of what achievement is in that sense. So when you suspend a minister under your own administration, is it an achievement of the fulfillment of promises made to the people? You know, I'm just asking, and these are questions that Nigerians should be asking as well of the administration. Whether or not there are political undertones in groups calling out the administration over the delivery of the dividends of democracy, what are you saying about the promises that Mr. President made to you ahead of the campaign and, of course, on May 29, 2023, when he took office? That's the more important question, and that's the more important thing that we should be scrutinizing and sending back to Mr. President. Mr. President, you promised this, so we're awaiting your feedback as far as that is concerned.
I think we'll still stay on the pages of This Day Nigeria. A couple of other stories as well. If you look at the top right corner of This Day Nigeria, This Nigeria, I say This Day Nigeria, This Nigeria, I should say, Nigeria's $1 trillion ambition at risk without policy stability. Nigeria's $1 trillion ambition at risk without policy stability. That's according to the Stock Exchange Chairman, the NGX Chairman. And I really wish we can get this ambitious goal met, but we're far from it. So from the projection of the President in his Renewed Hope Agenda manifesto or promise document, in that sense, he ordinarily incremental in terms of the GDP growth. I think it was projected about 10%, so I can't remember the exact figure. But by 2027, it was earmarking something in the neighborhood of almost $1 trillion. Let's just put it in the neighborhood of $800 billion. But as we speak right now, based on the unrebased GDP, we're still at $182 thereabout billion as an economy. Our economy is like the 4th or 5th largest in Africa. Okay, deregulation played a big role in terms of all of the twin policies of government. So our GDP annualized last year grew at about 3.4%. That's the growth level. I think the last quarter was about 3.6 or 3.8, but if you look at the average of the year, it's 3.4. And if we're doing $182 billion right now, you can imagine 2 years' time, how do we get to 1 trillion? But we're waiting for I don't know why the CPI, 2 documents I'm waiting for is the rebased GDP and the National Living Standards Survey, which I know is going to be very abysmal from the MBS. You know, so if they rebase the GDP, I suspect the numbers may be up a little bit more than it is, because more things will be captured. Guys.
Well, I want to introduce you to someone this morning on the front page of This Nigeria. So if you could just take a look at that front page. The person I want to introduce to you is Mr. Bill Gates, CFR. Yeah, Commander of the Order of the Federal Republic. Yesterday, President Bola Tinubu conferred the national honor on Bill Gates. Of course, he's the co-founder of Microsoft and the founder of the Bill Gates Foundation. This happened in Lagos yesterday. So it's going to be a big day. I'll see how it will be introduced today, because today there's the goalkeepers event, which is going to be, you can watch it live on Channels Television. So next time you want to introduce Mr. Bill Gates, make sure to put the CFR.
Yeah, I think he has done a lot for Africa. He's done a lot for the continent and Nigeria. So we also receive these honors as well. Our businessmen receive these honors. So it's nothing unusual. What was disturbing, and with that picture, maybe puts it out at the end of the day, is the president speaking in his own at his own residence, and he had his ADC behind him and his chief detail behind him. For God's sake. I think we're over-militarized as a people. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I hope the producers at some point we're going to put it up. So later on the show. So the president standing in his own house, his ADC is behind him, and then his chief detail is also, who is going to kill the president in his own parlor or in his own maybe conference room? I really don't know. I just feel we're still in the shadows of the military. I complained about this when the president went to Ghana as a special guest of honor. He went as a special guest of honor. When he was speaking, his ADC was standing behind him. His host, the Ghanaian president, had nobody standing behind him. Must there be somebody standing behind the president or these governors all the time? How many times do you see Donald Trump or the American president stand and somebody standing behind? They're all around. You can't do anything if they know their job. They're standing so that, you know, if they want to do something, they will do something. Anyway, that's another kettle of fish. Well, you have the next people.
And there's nothing that we can actually do about that. I think it's a conversation that has been, done with. But speaking of other foreign nationals that have been conferred with a national honor under this administration, the Indian Prime Minister has also been conferred with a national honor by President Bola Tinubu. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was conferred with the Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, GCON. But more importantly, we hope that these foreign nationals appreciate, the weight of honor that is on these awards. And we hope that, the administration also is forward-thinking and reflective on Nigerians that are doing big things in small corners as well that deserve the award. So let's go to other papers this morning. Beyond awards, we have the New Telegraph this morning. The New Telegraph leads with something other than awards or the economy. Listen to this. Outstanding arrears, minimum wage, federal workers right Tinubu vow to occupy Aso Rock. There's just one rider there. Say civil servants, not slaves. It's ridiculous for federal government to owe poorly paid workers. One president to stay away from contributory pension. Now there's a lot that's beginning to come out of wage awards promised, 35 to 25% increment promised. Just hours before now, Juson issued a statement calling off a strike and asking its members to return to work tomorrow. That will be Wednesday. But the issues that we should be focusing on and asking the administration about is how come these workers are being owed. Issues of wage award were supposed to have been, settled months to this time amid the negotiation of the minimum wage when Labour was meeting with the federal government, and these matters were being discussed also with the minister. So how many more workers, federal workers under agencies of the federal government are being owed? We hope that there would be, no more mass action by workers in the near future, and we hope that other governors also, the subnationals, are fulfilling the commitment to paying the 70,000 naira minimum wage. Those are the important issues to reflect on this morning, and that's it for a New Telegraph.
But there's this bizarre story on the front page, just beside the big picture showing the president and Bill Gates. You see, man falls from 26-story cocoa house in Ibadan. And the witness says, I thought it was a large bird falling from the sky. This is very bizarre, I must say. I understand that investigation has begun. A yet to be identified man reportedly falling from one of the top floors of the Cocoa House building in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital.
That's very depressing, very worrying.
I don't even know how to make it.
What are the safety measures, put in place?
There are so many layers. Yes.
Important infrastructure.
There are so many layers to it. But we just hope that when the time is right, we'll be able to get exactly what happened. Well, insecurity. Let's look at one more story on the front page of the New Telegraph, and that's just at the bottom, just beneath the picture of Bill Gates and our President Bola Tinubu, which has to do with security. Saying security, time to fence our borders is now. Time to fence our borders is now. This is coming from the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, at the end of, we've been screaming at this. No, we now have forest guards, although the process is still on. We've commended the Minister of Interior for some of the work he's done, especially with visa, passport, some security measures at the airport, a couple of other things as well. But this border issue is a nagging issue that has to be sorted. And the voice of the CDS has been added to this. I think if you go to places like Daura or some parts of Katsina, it's like you just walk into Niger and walk back into Daura. You just stroll in and out, and see the security posts and all of that of the immigration people. So we need to fortify those areas as much as possible so that clearly when you're coming into our country or leaving our country, we know exactly who you are. We can do all the checks and all, but these borders are quite porous, and that's why we have all this infiltration by all these foreign elements invading our country, killing our people, and ravaging our lands.
And if this is coming from the CDS, it speaks a whole lot about how pressing, how urgent, the need for fortification of the borders is. There is the Bola Tinubu Center commissioned by the Ministry of Interior just months ago that provides real-time monitoring of, surveillance of all the borders. But what about boots on the ground, physical security infrastructure, and manpower, to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria should there be any threat? And there are myriad of threats. That's why there's Plateau State on our hands, there's Benue State on our hands. The Minister of Defense, they should be listening to the CDS this morning.
Certainly. Just to take a look at the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for you this morning. By the way, that wall bit or fence will form a major part of conversation in the comedy, but Tribune leads with Benue killings. Army chief moves in, deploys more troops, logistics. Police relocate area commander, tactical teams to troubled LGAs. We had that conversation yesterday with the lawmaker from Akpa, who said as he was speaking with us, an attack was taking place in his community. He said gunmen killed 16, burned several several houses and plateau communities. Terrorists killed 3 villagers in Kwara. That's the front page of the Nigerian Tribune for you this morning. Now you can see a picture of a gridlock along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway yesterday. A number of things at play here, but that just gives you a sense as to how events are building up ahead of Salah. There's a lot of things, buying the rams, normally people moving to and fro. It's a big one, so you'll understand that that will cause a major gridlock cross-board. But that's the front page of
we have the experience here at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, so it's a daily experience now. So guys, maybe we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get to the very first conversation we'll be having on the program today. So the coalition is building up, trying to rally themselves. Well, the APC is also looking at them, responding to whatever it is they say they are doing. So there's been that back and forth, brickbat, if you will, as far as this conversation over 2027 is concerned. Everybody has their own grandstand and grand position as to how well or not the president has done in 2 years. We'll explore all of that conversation when we come back after this break. Join us again.